This entitled kid won't stop harassing this man with a medical condition. When the man asks the parent to do something about it, she turns out to be just as entitled as her child, leaving this poor man with no hope. Happy birthday if today's your birthday, and on with the revamped show. So I have Raynaud's disease, which, for those who don't know, is a condition where if I get stressed or cold, the blood vessels in my arms and hands close off, restricting or completely cutting off blood flow to my fingers. For me, it's extremely painful when the blood flows back to my hands, so my GP gave me medication to keep my blood vessels open, this saving me from immense pain. I need to take the medication before the blood is gone, which can be difficult. I live in the country, and the majority of my friends live in the city. We had arranged to meet up and all spend the day together, going to local attractions and sites and planning to have a nice time. Because they all live in the city, they could walk to our meetup point. However, I would have to get public transport in, because my car was getting its Ministry of Transport test that day, and I had a few problems that were urgent, so it couldn't wait any longer. I agreed to get the bus in, roughly a 45-minute trip, which wasn't a problem. I got on the bus, asked for a return, and sat on an empty seat. Behind me was a mother and her son. He looked no older than 5. He was a bit loud, but the music I was listening to drowned him out well enough. Thus, this was not an issue. My Raynaud's is triggered very easily. The slightest bit of cold wind or air can set it off. So my medication is essentially given to me in bulk, as I use upwards of 5 to 6 tablets a day. Sadly, I'd ran out the day before, thus resorted to wearing gloves. The child had one of those small, overpriced toy electric fans with sweets in the bottom, and as I mentioned earlier, the slightest dip in temperature can trigger my Raynaud's. The child began to wave the fan about, his mother on her phone. He paused, then stuck the fan in between the gaps of the seat and blew it in my face. He and his mother found this hilarious. I turned around and politely asked them to stop and explained the situation with my Raynaud's and the lack of my medication I possessed to suppress it. She apologized sarcastically and told her son to stop. I didn't want to take any medication yet, because no doubt I would need them later. For a minute or two things were okay, until I heard the mother whisper to the child, then giggle. I felt yet another cold breeze on my hand. It was resting on the armrests between the seats. It was the mother and the child, now with huge grins on their faces, blowing on my left hand, and of course the fan going too. I felt my hand become numb, and took off my glove to see that it was a pale white. I turned around to see the mother and child laughing their butt off, mocking me. I shoved my hand in my pocket, trying to warm it up. The two behind me were filming me at this point. I was so embarrassed and angry, I could have started a fight with her, but I didn't want to leave the demon child with the mum in accidents and emergencies. The pain of the blood finally came back, surging through my hands. I cried aloud, getting the attention of all on the bus. The two tossed the fan onto my lap, still going, and the mother said, "You can keep that, you seem to enjoy playing with it," then laughing more. I was a mess. The pain was unbearable. It was too late to take the medication now, so I had to sit there, crying. Luckily, a saint of a man came and sat next to me and demanded the mother and child leave the bus immediately. They pressed the red stop button and got off, the mother giving me a look of disgust as they took the walk of shame out. The man said he too had Raynaud's, obviously not as the severity of mine, but he still had it. He then, and I still can't believe this, handed me a pair of his reusable hand warmers, hugged me, then went back to his seat. It may seem like nothing to you guys, but for me it meant everything. There's no happy epilogue to this. I never saw the two again, and never saw that man again, but things are going alright with regards to my Raynaud's, for those who might be curious. I think why this entitled parent story has that wholesome twist at the end is because suffering happens to us in so many different ways, and it can feel so lonely. And so when somebody sympathizes with us and they understand the pain we're going through, it doesn't fix the pain, but there's something about being known by somebody else, and particularly the pain you're going through. It doesn't make everything better, but it helps. So I'm a 19-year-old student who has just finished college last year, and I have a year off to do whatever I want. For me, this is spending time working at my local cafe. So I'm on my lunch break and am relaxing in a corner table with some chocolate cake and tea. Now, I'm on my laptop playing a game when the entitled mother and kid enters the cafe. Entitled mother looks like she is in her mid-40s and the kid looks about 7. So the entitled mother is ordering at the counter, being served by my friend. Let's call him Kieran. This is relevant later. I don't take any notice and continue playing my game. When they are done, they come and sit at the table next to me. My lunch break is just about to end, so I'm getting ready to go back on shift when the entitled kid notices my game.
Mommy, can I play that game?
The entitled mother then tells her kid that yes, he can play on that game. She then gets up and walks over to me.
Hi, I noticed you were playing a game on your laptop.
The game, in case you were wondering, was Ark Survival Evolved.
It looks interesting.
Me being the antisocial I am, just say, okay, and more or less ignore her. She then proceeds by saying,
my son would really like to play that game, so maybe you could give that laptop to my kid for a while?
At this point, she has this really friendly but not so friendly look on her face. So I just say, ma'am, I'm just about to go back on shift and need to pack up my things, including my computer. I'm sorry. I have a pretty expensive computer that took me a while to save up for, and I hold it quite dear. The kid then says,
don't worry, mommy, it's his computer.
Now, I kind of have a soft spot for kids who are considerate and generally socially aware, so I sort of cave in. I end up setting up my laptop and loading up a game, not the one I was previously playing, and the kid seems happy. I say to the mother that I don't need my computer during shift and that her kid can play on it so long as she keeps an eye on it and makes sure it isn't damaged. Halfway through my shift, however, I see the entitled mother pack up the laptop. I just assume she's going to give it back to me and leave, but she packs up the computer and attempts to leave with it. I hastily leave my place at the counter, apologizing to the customer currently ordering, whilst saying I'll be right back and race after her. By the time I catch up to her, she is out the door and 10 feet down the pavement, trying to unlock her car. For all Americans, we call sidewalks pavements. I then ask her what the heck she is doing, and she explains that her kid wants to keep the laptop. Now, I'm rather ticked off at this point, so I say, ma'am, I bought that computer with my own money, and I don't intend on letting someone just take off with it.
Well, it didn't look like you were doing much on it, so maybe it should go to someone who deserves it. My child is perfect and polite, so maybe he should have it instead of some ungrateful teenager. You're too old to be playing games anyway. I then try and take back my laptop as she hasn't put it in a bag and is just clutching it under her arm. I manage to take it back, but she then proceeds to drop her bag, snatch the laptop back, punches me in the stomach, and starts screaming, "Assault! This man assaulted me!" My friend Kieran comes out of the cafe along with the manager and asks what's wrong. The entitled mother then says that I tried to steal the laptop off her and that I should be fired. Now, Kieran is a dear friend of mine and actually helped me to save up for the laptop by finding me extra shifts to do and alerting me of minor jobs in the area for quick money. He then tells the lady that he knows for a fact that it isn't her computer and to give it back right away, else the police would get involved. And then, no joke, the lady bolts into her car. The kid is already strapped into the back and she drives off. Luckily, I managed to take a photo of her number plate and the police tracked her down. I get my laptop back, but not after I realized that she changed the password on it whilst in the cafe. The police managed to unlock it for me, free of charge, and I realized that she has uninstalled, but luckily not completely deleted, so I managed to reinstall them, most of my games, except for the one that I let the kid play on, as well as changing literally everything on my PC. A PC for many people is a sacred thing, and even if you're trying to be generous, letting a kid play on it, especially a strange kid, is probably not a good idea for risk reasons. But it turns out here that the real risk wasn't the kid, but as usual, the entitled parent. I work for a friend of mine that owns a company that works with Uber. I have worked for him for several years now, and we both used our own vehicles. Not new vehicles, but fairly decent. I own a 2010 Toyota Avensis, and he used his 2013 Ford Fusion. Pretty good vehicles and always kept clean, free of dents, scratches, etc. Recently, he bought 3 brand new vehicles for us to use. He hired a third driver, a Tesla Model S, which he drives, and 2 Audi A8s, which
which me and the new driver use. Uber has been booming in our area recently, due to it being very heavy tourist-wise, and even the locals have started using it more than the local taxis. All three of us work around the clock and we take all the clients we can. Those we can't are rerouted to other Uber partnered companies nearby, which we have a lot of them. Now since we work around the clock, the vehicles stay with us permanently, and we are to treat them as if they are ours. Enter the day I meet entitled dad and entitled son. It's around 11:30 AM, and at this time people start ordering rides for the supermarkets and open air markets. We have a lot of those that sell fresh produce and fish, and I get an order for one of those open air markets. I open the app and see it's just one person fairly near to where I live. I go out into the street, and to my surprise, there is someone leaning on the car with his hand on the hood, while someone older holds a phone as to take a picture. Smile, son.
Hurry up, Dad. This is cool.
I thought to myself, man, this is really sad. Are they really taking a picture of the car to pass it as their own? I shook my head and continued walking towards the car as I unlocked it with the key from afar. The car has an alarm, so it made a loud beep as it unlocked, and the guy leaning on it jumps away from it. I laughed a bit on the inside and proceeded inside the vehicle. The entitled dad just stares at me as I close the door, put my phone in the stand above the central console, and turn the car on. Now I'm ready to leave, but both of them are still next to the car, so I can't move. I rolled down the window. Sorry, can you move? I need to leave.
So you think you're better than us?
Excuse me?
Just because you have a car like that, it doesn't make you any better than us.
That is true, but nowhere did I ever mention such a thing. Now, can you please move? I need to go to work. The dad scoffs and leaves, but not without mentioning something about rich jerks that I didn't really understand since I had already rolled up my window. I'm dumbfounded. What the heck was all that about? I make pretty decent money, but I also work 10 to 14 hours a day, and that was not even my car. Whatever. It's not in my nature to set other people straight on their own stupid assumptions. I go pick up the client, which happens to be a sweet old lady that wanted to go pick up her daughter-in-law and granddaughter from the open air market. We get there. They are already waiting for us, and I helped them put their shopping in the car. As we are reaching our destination, I get another order for 2 people to a shopping center in another town. I glanced at it and immediately accept it. Faraway destinations means more money and a greater tip, usually. I help my current customers unload their groceries, and I get paid for the trip, as well as a €5 tip. I get in the car and see that the next customer is in the street that I live. Okay then. I go there only to find the entitled dad and son waiting for me. Oh my goodness. I think to myself, please don't let them be the customer. They were. I get out of the car and ask them, "Are you Mr. Entitled Dad?"
"Yep, that's me. We want to go here."
"Okay, but this is in another city. Easily a 45-minute drive and can cost you anywhere between €50 and €70.
"What? Why is that so expensive? I thought it'd be like €10 or €20.
Sir, that would hardly cover the cost of fuel, let alone my time driving there and back."
"Well, let my son drive there. He just got his license, and he always wanted to drive a car like that."
"What? Where do you even think that's a logical thing to do? Do you always take a taxi and ask for you to drive?"
"Give my son the keys. You can ride with us, and then you can drive back."
The kid walks towards me thinking this was a done deal, and extends his hand as if I was going to give him the keys. This is preposterous, and if this is a joke, then you've got your laugh. But if you think for a moment that I'm even thinking of allowing someone to drive my work car, then you are sorely mistaken.
"Hey, I called you. You have to drive us there."
And I will once you get in the back seat of the car, and never even mention the nonsense you just spouted.
"No, let my son drive. He's a good driver, and you either let him drive or we are not going anywhere."
"No, you are not going anywhere." I get in the car, pull up the app, and cancel the order, choosing the option to never be paired with customer again. Then I called my friend and explained the whole situation to him, while the entitled dad seems to be on the phone as well. My friend just goes, "Huh?" and tells me not to waste any more time with this lunatic, so I tell him that his ride has been cancelled, and if he still wishes for a ride, to call for another. It would definitely not be me. This happened 2 days ago, and I'm still a bit worried since this all happened in front of my apartment building, and they might have seen me coming out of there, so I haven't seen them since, and I hope I never do. Man, what a freaking weirdo. I mean, seriously, is it normal to just ask a taxi driver to drive their taxi? I work in deposit services, and a lot of the escalated calls from tellers and customer care reps get routed to us when the managers are busy. They are always busy. As a result, I get a lot of entitlement on the line, with everything from scammers refusing to hang up, to millionaires being furious about standard fees, to people attempting to wiggle out of their loans with us. But as tax season rolls around, we're getting a lot of parents calling and asking for information on their kids' accounts. Most of the parents are just shooting their shot to try and help their kids, and that's fine. They normally take the standard, we can't give out information if you're not on the account, and they call it good. However, you do get the bad ones. Like Entitled B that called her local branch and was so irate that she was passed on to us within 60 seconds of the phone being answered. I was given the blessing of handling this woman, and after the entire 30-minute ordeal, I took a 10-minute break to let myself breathe. Here's basically how it went. Good afternoon. Thank you for choosing our bank. How can I help you?
Yes, I need the balance and get the statement for my son's account.
Alright, I can help you with this. What's the account number? EB gives the number, and I look it up. Turns out there's notes on this account that say, in big bold letters, not to allow access to the mother as she's committed fraud using her son's info before. Even if I wanted to help her, I couldn't. I'm sorry ma'am, at this time I'm unable to help you with this. I have to recommend that you go into your branch with a photo ID and they'll be able to assist you from here. She freaking explodes at this point. Her yelling gets so bad that I have to turn my volume down so I don't disturb anyone else.
My son needs his information. I'm just calling to get it for him. This bank is so stupid. Give me the information right now, or I'm pulling all my money out and going to a different bank. This is ridiculous. I'm going to call the BBB and tell them you aren't letting me access my funds.
Now, for folks that don't know, this is referred to as social engineering. It's an attempt to get the person at the end of the line so frazzled that they yield. But not this time, lady. I tell her that she'll have to refrain from the harsh language or I'll disconnect the call, and it just gets worse. She starts calling me lazy and stupid, and the crowning one I got was,
I can tell by your voice that you're one of those
racial slurs,
too,
which was the weirdest thing I've heard in a minute. I gave her another warning and she talked over me.
I'm helping my son with his taxes. Without me, he will be audited by the IRS. You will take responsibility if he's fined millions. I'll take you and your crappy bank to court for—
I hung up as I was allowed to. 2 warnings, termination. Bye. I talked to my manager and she had me call IT. We managed to block her number from calling anyone, so a win in the long run. But I spent 30 minutes being screamed at, so not a win in the short term. I know a lot of people who have phone paranoia, like they hate just even answering their own phone from an unknown number, and I feel like experiences like this do not help. One of my past jobs, I had to deal with clients on the phone, and I had someone somewhat like this in that they just kept yelling and yelling, and there's almost nothing you can do. You can't reason with them, you can't calm them down, you basically just have to listen, and when you get the chance, end the conversation. Submit your story to be read on the channel at VoiceyHereStories@gmail.com, and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.